Namaskar, this is Firstpost and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. A few days ago, Donald Trump was boasting about an imminent peace deal. Now Ukraine is blowing up Russian bridges and air bases, this time with 1,100 kilos of explosives. How has the war taken this dramatic turn amid peace talks? And how will Putin respond to Ukrainian strikes? We'll discuss that tonight. Also tell you about the farce that is the United Nations Security Council. Guess who is the new vice chair of their anti-terrorism committee? Pakistan. Meanwhile, Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is on a diplomatic mission that should be called a disastrous mission. He was fact-checked at the United Nations. And in Pakistan, Imran Khan has fired a fresh volley at Asim Munir. He says the army chief is targeting his wife because she refused to meet him. Also in focus, what is Aggro Terrorism? Why has the US arrested 2 Chinese nationals for carrying a type of fungus? Is the bromance over? Why Musk is slamming Trump's bill? How celebrations turned fatal in Bengaluru today. The RCB stampede has left many people dead. How Iran has rejected the US nuclear deal, calling it nonsense. How the Hajj pilgrimage has become a heat endurance test. And what will space look like in 50 years? The projections include or feature aliens, space bugs, and Mars babies. All this and more coming up. The headlines first. India will hold its first population census since 2011 and the first caste census since independence. The government says counting will begin in March next year. Those living in high-altitude regions will be covered earlier. US private sector hiring has slowed to a 2-year low. Figures for the month of May missed expectations by a wide margin. President Trump blames trade headwinds for the weak data. The numbers add pressure amid his ongoing trade war. Germany unveils a sweeping package of corporate tax breaks. The plan lowers rates from 15% to 10% by 2028. Firms will get concessions on new machinery. Electric cars will get preferential treatment. The idea is to boost the sluggish German economy. Lee Jae-myung is elected president of South Korea. His victory follows months of political turmoil and protests in the country. The crisis began after ousted leader Yoon Suk-yeol declared martial law in 2024. New births in Japan dropped below 700,000 for the first time ever. In 2024, just over 680,000 babies were born. This is the lowest number since records began in 1899. Japan now has the world's second oldest population after Monaco. Ukraine has struck Russia again, this time in Crimea. They blew up the Crimean Bridge, the same bridge that Ukraine has struck twice before in 2022 and 2023. And yet, this was the first of its kind, this attack. Take a look. The explosives were planted underwater. The pillars of the bridge were targeted. Ukraine says this operation was planned months ago. They used some 1,100 kilograms of explosives. That's some serious amount of TNT. And the choice of target is also significant. Ukraine says the Crimean Bridge is a supply line. It is also known as the Kerch Bridge. It links Russia to Crimea. Now, Kyiv says Moscow feeds its troops through this bridge. Plus, it has symbolic value for Vladimir Putin. This bridge was built after 2014, after Russia annexed Crimea. So Putin sees this bridge as a bond, a link between Crimea and mainland Russia that he established. And that explains why Ukraine keeps targeting it. The bridge is more than infrastructure. It is a symbol of Russia's annexation of Crimea. Remember, earlier Crimea was a part of Ukraine, but in 2014, Russia took it. And since then, they've protected it heavily. So for Ukraine, every strike on Crimea is a statement, a military breakthrough. In fact, a pattern is starting to emerge here. First, Ukraine hit air bases across Russia with drones.
11. А тот 8 куда пролетел.
This happened over the weekend. Ukraine hit air bases across Russia with drones, and now the strike on the Crimean Bridge. These are not random operations. They were months in the making. There was intelligence involved. The operations were conducted covertly, and Ukraine managed to bypass Russian defenses. It chose specific targets to hit Russia's strategic and defensive choke points. In fact, the Crimean Bridge was key to sustaining Russia's war, and the air bases were instrumental in launching aerial attacks on Ukraine. So here's what Kyiv tried to do. It exploited gaps in Russian defenses. It caused maximum damage with minimal resources. Ukraine is no longer trying to match Russia weapon for weapon. It is using low-cost tools to hit billion-dollar targets. This is classic asymmetric warfare. It is deliberate, disruptive, and effective. Of course, Russia has tried to play down the strike. It says the attack did not cause any damage.
Yes, there was an explosion. Nothing was damaged. The bridge is working. The Kyiv regime continues its attempts to attack civilian infrastructure. Russian side continues to take precautionary measures.
And the Crimean Bridge was not the only casualty. In the last 24 hours, 2 more bridges have collapsed in Russia, both near the border with Ukraine. At least 7 people were killed and dozens were injured. Russia has blamed Ukraine for the damage, but Ukraine calls it a false flag operation. So the tensions continue to rise. Russia's war rhetoric is getting more aggressive. Consider the latest comments from Dmitry Medvedev. He's the former president of Russia, a close confidant of Vladimir Putin, and now a top security official. And this is what Medvedev has said, I'm quoting, "Everything that needs to be blown up will be blown up. And those who must be eliminated will be." A few days back, he threatened World War III. And now he said this. Comments like these kill the prospects for a truce. Medvedev said Russia's goal is not peace, it is victory. And Russia wants the total destruction of Ukraine's government. They call it a neo-Nazi regime. They want it gone. In fact, Russia's latest demands are telling. They want Ukraine to cede even more territory. They want Ukraine to adopt a neutral status, to reduce the size of its army, and to hold elections under terms which are not acceptable to Kyiv. Frankly, none of these demands are new. Russia has proposed them and Ukraine has rejected them in the past. But this week, Russia formally presented the same demands again as preconditions for a ceasefire. This was during their talks in Istanbul. As expected, Ukraine has rejected them. The two sides found common ground only on one issue. They agreed to a prisoner exchange and the return of over 12,000 bodies of soldiers.
We agreed the most wide-range swap of the prisoners of war according to following formula. First, all the heavily wounded, all the critically sick will be exchanged all for all. This is our humanitarian move. Second, the young soldiers aged up to 25 will be exchanged according to the same formula.
So where does that leave the conflict? All signs point to further escalation. Ukraine's strikes are a message, a bold demonstration of its resolve and its growing capacity to defend its ground. But Ukraine alone cannot shift the course of this conflict. Russia still commands a vast war machine. Russia still controls almost 20% of Ukrainian territory. So Kyiv has taken a bold risk. We hope Zelensky is prepared for what may come next. We keep hearing that the global system does not work, that it's broken, it needs fixing. But just how broken is it? We'll tell you that tonight. Let me introduce the new Vice Chair of the United Nations Counter-Terrorism Committee, Pakistan. You heard me right. The same Pakistan that sponsors terror, the same Pakistan where Osama bin Laden lived, the same Pakistan that hosts multiple UN-designated terrorists, that Pakistan is now Vice Chair of the United Nations' Counter-Terrorism Committee. And that is not all. They will also chair the Taliban Sanctions Committee. It's like asking the thief to guard your house. But why is the UN doing it? And what does it mean for India? First, some background. The UN Security Council has multiple committees. The Taliban Sanctions Committee is one of them. So is the ISIL and Al-Qaeda Committee, and so is the Counter-Terrorism Committee. All these committees have their own mandate. And who chairs them? Well, that keeps changing every year. You see, the Security Council has two parts. They have 5 permanent members, the US, the UK, France, Russia, and China, and the 10 non-permanent members. These 10 members, the non-permanent members, are elected by the General Assembly for a period of 2 years. They keep changing. You need a 2/3 majority to get elected. So how Pakistan got that is also a surprise. But once the members are elected, negotiations begin. Countries can give their inputs. They can ask for certain committees. But usually, the permanent members take the final call. They decide who chairs which committees. And in this case, they went with Pakistan. Islamabad will chair the Taliban Committee for 2025. They will also be the vice chair for the Counter-Terrorism Committee. It's the biggest farce you will see. Pakistan is home to 150 UN-designated terrorists and groups, 150. Yet the same Pakistan will oversee counter-terrorism. Frankly, mock UNs are more serious than this. Which brings us to the second question. How will this impact India? Well, Pakistan's UNSC membership is a huge roadblock because all these committees work on consensus, meaning every member has a veto. So Pakistan can single-handedly shoot down India's efforts. For instance, right now, India is trying to sanction the TRF, the Resistance Front, the proxy of the Lashkar-e-Toiba, the group behind the Pahalgam terror attack. India is trying to put this group on the sanctions list. But with Pakistan at the United Nations Security Council, that is impossible. They can veto India's push. Plus, Islamabad can set the agenda. They can use the committees to shape the narrative. And chances are they will target groups that oppose them, like the Pakistani Taliban or the Baloch Liberation Army. Islamabad will go after them. And groups that target India, Islamabad could simply brush them under the carpet. And this could continue for a while because Pakistan's membership lasts until the end of 2026. Which means India will have to lobby extra hard. Yes, Pakistan has a veto on sanctions, but that is no reason to stop the campaign. India must reach out to other members of the United Nations Security Council. We must expose Pakistan's double game. Only then can we set the narrative. Of course, in the long run, we must call for reforms too, because this system makes no sense. As of now, China is a member of the United Nations Human Rights Council. Just think how absurd that is. Chinese people have no freedoms at home. But you expect the same China to protect those freedoms elsewhere. Qatar is also a part of the Human Rights Council. Again, no freedom, no democracy here. Another example is North Korea. In 2022, they took charge of the United Nations top disarmament agency. And you did not hear that wrong. I did say North Korea, the country with an illegal nuclear weapons program. They were heading a disarmament agency. All these examples confirm the obvious, that the global system is broken. It is true that we do not have any alternatives yet, but we never will until we push for it. Countries across the world should introspect. Do they want a terror sponsor leading a counter-terrorism agency? Do they want a police state upholding human rights? Do they want a rogue state checking disarmament? I'm guessing the answer will be no.
Pakistan would still like to cooperate with India to combat terrorism. The hurdles we face within the UN and in general as far as the Kashmir cause is concerned, that still exists.
Some leaders earn their place on the world stage, others are simply born into it, but few have fumbled their inheritance, quite like Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. At 35, he is Pakistan's Nepo prince. He has two famous last names and a foreign accent. But what he's missing is diplomatic skills, the kind you cannot inherit. You can only earn them, and looks like Bilawal is learning that the hard way. You see, after Operation Sindoor, India acted swiftly. It dispatched delegations across the globe, multi-party delegations that represented India. Our leaders presented facts. They briefed India's friends and partners across the world. They told them what happened, how Pakistani terrorists killed innocent civilians in India. And Pakistan had a choice here. They could either introspect or they could imitate India. Of course, they chose imitation. And they sent the first political heir they could find. So Bilawal Bhutto Zardari was sent to New York. And he came armed with delusions. Bilawal was addressing a press conference at the United Nations headquarters. He was speaking about terrorism, and he came up with a grand idea. Listen to this.
Pakistan would still like to cooperate with India to combat terrorism. We can't leave the fate of 1.5, 1.7 billion people in the hands of non-state actors and terrorists. For them to decide at a whim that two nuclear armed powers will go to war.
So this is Bilawal's grand strategy, a collaboration between India and Pakistan, between the RAW and the ISI, that too to combat terrorism. We say the idea is DOA, dead on arrival, because it's the same ISI that shelters terror networks, the same ISI that has masterminded attacks on Indian soil. But Bilawal Bhutto Zardari says India should join hands with them. That is his strategic brilliance. It's like watching the arsonist torch a house and then volunteer to help the fire brigade. So here's a message for Mr. Bhutto. India is already tackling terrorism. That is why India bombed 9 terror camps in Pakistan. But what is Islamabad doing? They're handing out money and state funerals to terrorists, which obviously is not fighting terror, it is funding terror. This is a kind of suggestion that might work at a model UN. Sadly for Bilawal, this was the real one. And we know diplomacy is hard. But it's a lot harder when you're trying to copy your neighbor's playbook. India has concrete evidence, Pakistan has excuses. The thing is, you cannot copy-paste credibility. And here's when things went downhill. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari tried to pull the victim card. He said that this was being politicized to demonize Indian Muslims. That's what he said, demonize Indian Muslims. It was a sweeping claim, one designed to elicit global sympathy. Unfortunately for Bilawal, he was immediately fact-checked by a journalist.
You cannot combat terrorism if you're going to use it as a political tool to demonize.
Let me start with a statement you made today, saying that the recent terrorist attack in Kashmir is being used as a political tool to demonize Muslims in India. Sir, I have watched the briefings on both sides, and as far as I recall, there were Muslim Indian military officers who were conducting the briefing on the Indian side.
Well, as far as the operation is concerned, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Bilawal says Indian Muslims are demonized, so the journalist mentions the Indian military briefings. One of the officers leading them was Colonel Sophia Qureshi, again an Indian Muslim officer. And for a moment, Bilawal had no answer. It's like someone suddenly showed him Pakistan's hidden terror camps. This fact check derailed his entire script. So here's some free advice for Islamabad. Before launching an international campaign, come up with some original content. The world has heard the Kashmir rant. They've seen the sympathy tour. They've endured the contradictions. You want respect? Then start with coherence. Start by cleaning up the mess at home. Stop shielding the very actors you claim to oppose, and maybe send someone with experience to the United Nations. Because right now, Bilawal is not leading a diplomatic delegation. He's leading a PR disaster. Asim Munir escaped one war, but he could be facing another one soon, this time at home. Pakistan's army chief is under pressure from Imran Khan. He's like that headache that refuses to go away. Arrest him, convict him. It doesn't matter what you do. Imran Khan just continues to hit back. This time he's accusing Asim Munir of targeting his wife. It dates back to when he was Prime Minister. Back then, Asim Munir headed the ISI, the Inter-Services Intelligence. Now let me quote his statement, Imran Khan's statement. As Prime Minister, when I removed General Asim Munir from the post of DG ISI, he sought to approach my wife, Bushra Bibi, through intermediaries to discuss the matter. Bushra Bibi categorically declined, saying that she had no involvement with such affairs and would not meet him. It is General Asim Munir's vindictive nature that is behind Bushra Bibi's unjust 14-month incarceration and deplorable inhumane treatment in prison. Now, this is a serious allegation. Imran Khan says his wife refused to meet Asim Munir, and that is why she has been jailed. Her name is Bushra Bibi. She has been convicted on multiple charges, including corruption and violation of marriage laws. Imran Khan claims that she is being mistreated in jail, again on Asim Munir's orders. And this is a huge gamble by Imran Khan, because the army chief is consolidating power rapidly. After the conflict with India, he gave himself a promotion. Despite losing the battle, Asim Munir was elevated himself to Field Marshal. He is only the second Field Marshal in Pakistan's history. Plus, his popularity is apparently soaring. Look at this poll from last month. 82% Pakistanis rated the army's performance as very good. 92% said that their opinion of the military had improved. So clearly, Asim Munir was flying high. Then why is Imran Khan attacking him? Is he not going against the public sentiment? Well, two things are possible. A, the army is just manufacturing this popularity. In reality, Pakistanis are not buying any of it. Or B, Imran Khan does not care. He is willing to risk the backlash to attack Asim Munir. And both these situations are possible. And we can guess Imran Khan's justification. He would probably say he's fighting Munir, not the army. In fact, let me take you back to mid-May. After the conflict with India, Imran Khan released a statement. He was all praise for Pakistan's army, but he did not mention Asim Munir at all. Later, when Munir was promoted, Imran Khan took a swipe. He said the title of Field Marshal was not apt. He said King would have been better. Why? Because Pakistan is being ruled by the laws of the jungle, and in the jungle there is only one king. Now, we have no love lost for Imran Khan, but we must say that was a good zinger. The question is, why is he saying all this? Does he have no interest in leaving prison? At the moment, it seems like it. You see, Imran Khan and Asim Munir have a long-running feud. In 2018, Munir was appointed as the chief of ISI, but the very next year, Imran Khan removed him. In fact, Asim Munir's stint was the shortest in Pakistan's history as ISI chief. And the reasons for his ouster are not clear. Some reports say that Munir had dirt on Imran Khan's wife, which is why he was pushed out. Others even point to ethnic differences. Imran Khan is a Pashtun, Asim Munir is a Punjabi. Whatever the trigger, the fact is neither man likes the other. Their rivalry has toppled one regime and rigged elections. Asim Munir may have the advantage at the moment, but Imran Khan is not giving up. Maybe he feels the public sentiment is on his side, or maybe he feels the economic issues will put pressure on Munir. Either way, one thing is quite clear. This internal rivalry could shape Pakistan's future. Our next story starts at an airport, America's Detroit airport. In July 2024, a customs officer was doing a routine bag check. In one bag, he found Ziploc pouches carrying a fungus. It goes by the name Fusarium graminarium. This is the scientific name. This fungus also has a nickname. It is called the crop killer. The man carrying it was a Chinese researcher. He claimed that he was carrying it for research, and he was not alone in this. His girlfriend was also involved. They were both arrested, and now the American authorities are calling it a case of aggro terrorism. But what is it? Why is this fungus so dangerous, and what does this episode mean for US-China relations? We'll start again with what happened in Detroit. Like I said, July 2024, a Chinese researcher was stopped by US Customs and Border Protection. His name was Zun Yong Liu. Inside his bag was the toxic fungus. Prosecutors say Liu tried to smuggle this fungus into the US. It was to be taken to a lab in the University of Michigan, and that is where his girlfriend also happened to work. Her name is Jian Yung Ching. Both of them have been charged with smuggling, conspiracy, and lying to federal investigators. Now let's also tell you about the fungus that they were carrying, the crop killer. It infects crops like wheat, corn, rice, and barley. It causes something called head blight. And worse, the fungus does not stop at plants. It produces mycotoxins. So exposure to infected grains can make you sick. It can lead to vomiting and liver damage. It can also cause reproductive issues in both humans and livestock. In fact, pigs are particularly susceptible. So this fungus can be deadly. It causes billions of dollars in losses worldwide every year. Hence the charge of aggro terrorism. But what is it exactly? What is aggro terrorism? It is the deliberate introduction of pathogens into agricultural systems. It can be plants or animal pathogens. You use them to infect crops deliberately and to cause massive disruption. Think of it this way. You don't need bombs when you can kill the wheat. You're targeting the source of food. This fungus could have done that. The FBI has called it a potential act of aggro terrorism. They say Liu and Jian were not just rogue scientists, they were backed by the Chinese government. Prosecutors say Jian received funding from Beijing. She's also reportedly a member of the Chinese Communist Party. Which brings us to the question, did China try to disrupt American crops? The FBI chief says they did. His name is Kerch Patel. Look at what he's tweeted, and I'm quoting, "This case is a sobering reminder that the CCP is working around the clock to deploy operatives and researchers to infiltrate American institutions and target our food supply." So the FBI claims that Beijing is attacking America's food supply, and this fungus could be a potential agro-terrorism weapon. And what is China saying? Well, they're yet to comment. And we must add here that this is not the first such incident. Agro-terrorism is more common than you'd imagine. It dates back to the Second World War, in fact. Nazi Germany apparently considered it. They wanted to drop potato beetles all over Britain. This was to wipe out the local potato crop, although it did not happen. But during the same war, Japan's military planners came up with a similar plan to use grain rust spores to attack enemy crops. Another such case was in the US in 1984. A religious cult intentionally contaminated salad bars with salmonella. This was to suppress voter turnout in local elections. More than 750 people fell ill. So agro-terrorism has existed for some time now. And it's appealing for a simple reason. It is hard to detect, easy to deploy, plus the consequences can be severe. In this particular case, it has geopolitical implications. The woman in question, Jian, is under arrest. She is set to appear in a federal court in Michigan. Her boyfriend, Liu, has been deported to China. The two countries do not have an extradition treaty, so he is unlikely to face further prosecution in the United States. The fungus may or may not have been meant to kill crops, but it is poisoning the US-China relationship. Elon Musk and Donald Trump used to be inseparable, but it looks like a new bill has driven a wedge between them. It is Trump's new big and beautiful tax bill. Elon Musk has criticized it before, but now he's calling it, and I'm quoting, a disgusting abomination. His words, disgusting abomination. Why did he say this? Well, the reason on paper is the US budget deficit. This bill will significantly increase the deficit, but reports suggest that this has to do with Musk's company Tesla. This bill could cut an electric vehicle tax credit, one that helps car makers like Tesla. So what has happened here? Who betrayed whom? And is this split permanent? Our next report tells you.
Remember when Trump and Musk were besties? It was a peculiar partnership, half tech utopia, half reality show.
Our country.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
Take care.
The world's richest man and the President of the United States.
Take over, Elon. Yes, take over.
For a while, they were an odd but unstoppable force. But, like most high-stakes relationships, this one was always going to end in flames. Elon Musk has slammed Trump's legacy legislation, his big, beautiful bill. The Tesla CEO has called it a disgusting abomination. In a post on X, he said the bill would add to US budget deficit. To Trump's team, it was a betrayal. To political observers, this is a messy breakup. So what was in this big, beautiful bill? Well, there are nearly 1,000 pages of tax cuts, military boosts, border wall funding, all of which could raise the US budget deficit by $600 billion. Trump obviously wants it to be approved ASAP, but Elon Musk isn't so enthusiastic. And this has less to do with the budget deficit rise and more to do with Musk's company, Tesla. The bill cut federal incentives for electric vehicles. That's like removing oxygen from Tesla's lungs. Musk had spent months lobbying for those credits to stay in. His team even dropped $250,000 on Capitol Hill trying to protect them. But none of that has helped. Also, Elon Musk wanted to stay on in the White House after 130 days. That's the term limit for a special government employee, but Musk wanted to stay on. The White House wasn't so enthusiastic about it. And this could have to do about his relationship with Trump's cabinet. Behind closed doors, Elon allegedly shoved Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent during a heated exchange, an incident described by former Trump advisor Steve Bannon. There are also tensions with White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller. This after Musk walked out on the administration, taking Miller's wife Katie with him. Many even pointed at the large bruise over his eyes, claiming he got it from the brawl.
Mr. Musk, is your eye okay? What happened to your eye? I noticed there was a bruise there.
Well, it wasn't. I wasn't anywhere near France, so.
What does that mean?
No,
I didn't notice.
First Lady of France.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, I was just horsing around with little X, and I said, "Go ahead, punch me in the face," and he did. Turns out, even a 5-year-old punching you in the face actually.
For the cherry on top of this insult Sunday, Trump quietly withdrew the nomination of one of Musk's closest allies for a top NASA role. So Musk did what Musk does best. He tweeted against Trump's new bill. And just like that, the bromance was on life support. But let's be honest, this was never built to last. Both Trump and Musk think of themselves as main characters. They both love attention, they both think the rules don't apply to them, and they both have armies of online fans who think they're prophets. But in politics, ego is a zero-sum game. One of them had to blink, and it wasn't going to be Elon. White House sources suggest Trump is quite irked by Musk's tweets. So are they done? Publicly, they're still pretending everything's fine. But things aren't looking so good. For Trump, this is nothing new. he burns through allies like a rocket booster burns fuel. And for Elon Musk, the man who tried to run a country on the side, well, it's back to earth.
It was supposed to be a day of pure joy, of celebration and pride. Instead, Bengaluru is in shock today. I'm sure you've seen the news and the pictures. Bengaluru was all decked up for a massive celebration today. Their IPL team had finally won the tournament. The Royal Challengers beat Punjab Kings yesterday. It was their first IPL trophy in 18 years. Now, the RCB fans are a very passionate lot. Plus, they've been waiting for a win since 2008, so they packed the streets of Bengaluru in celebration. We're talking about tens of thousands of people. Take a look. Around afternoon, the team landed in Bengaluru. First, they headed to the state legislature building. The players were felicitated by the Karnataka government. But the main event was 3 kilometers away at RCB's home ground, the M. Chinnaswamy Stadium. And that is where things went horribly wrong. The stadium has a capacity of 32,000, but the government says some 2 to 3 lakh fans had gathered. Pretty soon, the fan frenzy turned fatal. The exact details are not clear yet, but reports say the rush led to a stampede. At least 11 people were killed, including children, and more than 30 were injured. Like I said, the exact sequence of events is unclear, but these pictures give you an idea. You can see fans climbing up fences and trees. In some places, the police pushed back with force. We will show you the pictures, but as always, viewer discretion is advised. Such tragedies shake you up. Just think about those eager RCB fans. They probably went to sleep yesterday full of hope. Maybe they couldn't sleep from all the excitement. And today they arrived at the Chinnaswamy, at a place that has given them so many good memories. Today's event was supposed to be one such memory until it turned fatal. This was not some unpredictable earthquake. This was not torrential rains. This was a man-made tragedy, so questions will be asked. The Karnataka state government is being grilled on the preparations. Were there enough police officials on the ground? Did they underestimate the footfall? And were there no crowd control measures? Karnataka's chief minister has ordered an investigation. Here's what he told the press.
I do not want to defend the incident. The tragedy so happened. I do not want to defend, I do not want to play politics in these small gates. The people entered through the gates.
They have broken the gates.
They have broken the gates also. So stampede has taken place. Of course, it should not have been happened. This tragedy should not have been happened. We are with the sufferers, victims.
And what about the event? The ceremony had already started inside the stadium. That's when news of the stampede came in. Karnataka's Deputy Chief Minister says the event was cut short. It was wrapped up within 10 to 15 minutes. Initially, a bus parade had also been planned. That too was cancelled. But who takes responsibility for the tragedy? The government says, do not blame the police because such a crowd was always going to be uncontrollable. What about the IPL authorities? Well, they have no idea who organized this event. In other words, nobody is willing to take responsibility. All of them want fans to make money, but when it comes to protecting those fans, they pass the buck. And this is not limited to India. Last week, French football club PSG won the Champions League. Like RCB, it was their first triumph. So major celebrations broke out in Paris. Unfortunately, 2 people were killed in those celebrations and more than 200 were injured. Now, Paris is around 2 million people. Bengaluru has 14 million. The fact is, crowd control has always been a problem in India. Some 4,000 stampedes have been reported since 1996. Put together, 3,000 lives have been lost. And every time it is the same template. Point fingers and move on. What we need is a playbook going forward. Crowd control is all about anticipation and preparation. If you deploy enough people, if you plan well enough, then any crowd can be controlled. Of course, before any of this comes the most important part, acknowledging the value of human life. These people are not statistics on a page. They had a life. They had a family of their own. All they wanted was to celebrate their team's success. If that is too much to ask, then we must introspect as a country. Our next story is from Saudi Arabia, where the Hajj pilgrimage has begun. This is an annual pilgrimage made by Muslims to the holy city of Mecca, and it is one of Islam's core practices. Every able-bodied Muslim who can afford it is expected to undertake this journey at least once in their life. So the Hajj is one of the largest gatherings of people in the world. Millions of people make the journey every year, but it is physically demanding. And amid rising temperatures, it has become an endurance test, not just for the pilgrims, but also for the government of Saudi Arabia. Last year, temperatures crossed 50 degrees Celsius, and more than 1,300 pilgrims died due to heat stress. This year, it is expected to be just as hot. It is a logistical challenge for the kingdom. So what are they doing to make it safer this time? Here's a report.
The Hajj pilgrimage has begun. This is an annual pilgrimage made by Muslims to the holy city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia. It takes place once a year, during a specific period in the final month of the Islamic calendar, and the Hajj is one of Islam's core practices. Every able-bodied Muslim who can afford it is expected to undertake the journey at least once. So every year, millions of Muslims from across the world make the journey. The Hajj is one of the largest human gatherings in the world. But amid rising heat and growing logistical challenges, the pilgrimage is shaping up to be different this year. The Hajj has seen several catastrophes over the years. In 2015, there was a stampede. More than 2,200 people died. But overcrowding is just part of the problem. The Hajj has always been physically demanding. Pilgrims often walk more than 16 kilometers each day under the desert sun. So even in a typical year, several older and ailing pilgrims die during the arduous journey. Amid rising temperatures, the situation has only worsened. Last year, Mecca recorded temperatures as high as 51.8 degrees Celsius during the pilgrimage, and more than 1,300 pilgrims died. Most of them were unregistered pilgrims. They had made the trip without the permits to be a part of the pilgrimage. People need a Hajj permit. It also gives pilgrims access to heat protections, like air-conditioned tents and official cooling centers. In many countries, the wait for a permit stretches for years, and for many families from lower-income backgrounds, the cost is too high, often exceeding $10,000. So Hajj is out of reach for many. This has led to people increasingly attempting the pilgrimage without the official permit.
We know that some pilgrims are promised entry for Hajj by unscrupulous Hajj organizers. This could happen around the world. And if pilgrims are taken for Hajj but don't have access to services, then they could find themselves in particular difficulty.
Authorities say that this year, temperatures could again exceed 50 degrees Celsius during the pilgrimage. This week, about 1.5 million pilgrims from abroad have arrived in Mecca. So the government has taken efforts to make the pilgrimage safer, like expanding rubberized and cooled roads, to reduce surface temperatures, adding more air-conditioned rest stops, misting stations, and water supply points, using drones to monitor pilgrims' movements, giving pilgrims wearable devices to monitor body temperature, and send alerts if there are signs of heat exhaustion. But that's not all. Saudi Arabia is cracking down harder on unregistered pilgrims. As of Sunday, officials have stopped about 270,000 people without permits, and violators face a fine of about $5,300 and a 10-year ban from entering the kingdom. After all, the stakes are high for Saudi Arabia. They consider themselves the guardian of Islam's holiest site. They have benefited from the Hajj tourism economy for years, and they want to double Hajj numbers to around 6 million by 2030. So over the years, the government has poured billions of dollars into developing Mecca infrastructure, from multi-level pathways to sophisticated crowd control mechanisms. But with a warming summer, the Hajj pilgrimage has become an endurance test, not just for the pilgrims, but also for Saudi Arabia.
Allahu Akbar. Donald Trump built his brand as the ultimate deal maker. He's known for his hardball tactics, big bluffs, walkouts, and in the end, forcing a deal on his terms. That is Trump's formula, or what he sold to the world. And this template has also defined the Trump presidency. It makes a lot of headlines, but it doesn't always work. The latest example is Iran. The US and Iran are trying to renegotiate the nuclear deal, but today Iran's supreme leader has rejected Trump's proposal. That's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. He has called the US proposal nonsense.
The first thing we say to the American and other parties is, what business do you have in this? Why do you interfere in whether Iran should have enrichment or not? What's it to you? The rude and arrogant leaders of America repeat this demand in various ways. The proposal that the Americans have presented is 100% against our interests.
The row over uranium enrichment by Iran is not new. Donald Trump wants Tehran to stop all enrichment, and for this he has offered a compromise. Iran can continue enriching for some time, and once it has enough to fuel a nuclear power plant, it should stop. That was the American proposal. The Trump administration framed it as a possible breakthrough. Clearly, Iran does not see it that way. It has been enriching uranium, and this is making the US nervous, because enriched uranium is the main ingredient for a nuclear bomb. And Iran had agreed to stop enrichment. It agreed to a deal with the US and other countries. But in 2018, Trump walked out of that deal. He slapped sanctions on Iran. So Iran doubled down on the enrichment. Now the US wants a deal again, but Iran sees it as a trap. Plus, their status is very different from what it was 7 years ago. In 2018, when Trump killed the nuclear deal, Iran was still months away from a bomb. Today, it could have a bomb within weeks. And this is according to the US intelligence assessment. They believe Iran is 1 or 2 weeks away. This is their new assessment. Iran is 1 or 2 weeks away from producing 60% enriched uranium. That is the level that you need to fuel a nuclear bomb. And this is just the start. Once Iran gets the first bomb, it can build 5 more. They have enough material for it. Although Iran insists that that is not their aim. Iran says it is not trying to build a bomb.
We want peace and security. We are not looking for nuclear weapons. Those who claim that we are looking for nuclear weapons and mass destruction is you that is scaring Muslims with atomic weapons and mass destruction in the region.
Iran has what it needs to make a bomb. A leaked UN report confirms that. It says Iran has ramped up uranium enrichment. Production has increased by 50% in just 3 months. This uranium is still below weapons grade, but it's well above what is needed for power generation. And that is a clear red flag, because it brings Iran dangerously close to nuclear weapons capability. Remember, Trump's original strategy was to walk away, to kill the original deal and slap sanctions on Tehran. He called it the strategy of maximum pressure, to force Iran to buckle, come back to the talking table and accept America's terms. But that did not happen. Yes, the sanctions did cripple Iran's economy, but the regime remained stable. In fact, they got an excuse to break the rules, even build a bomb. Now, the US wants to impose stricter terms on Tehran. The Americans are demanding stronger guarantees, but Iran is unlikely to agree. It wants an ironclad deal, a guarantee that neither Trump nor any future US president can break the deal. That's what Iran is asking for. And this is where Trump's deal-making hits a wall. Because you see, this is not a hotel contract. This is a nuclear agreement. You cannot negotiate a bomb like you negotiate a building. You cannot bluff your way through it. Iran is just weeks away from a nuclear weapon. If Trump cannot lock this down, he's not just losing a negotiation, he is gambling with global security. Human babies born on Mars, products made in space, and robots that mine asteroids. Is this what the future looks like? Some scientists certainly think so. I'm talking about the Royal Society. This is a scientific academy in the UK. They have made some wacky predictions. They say that by the year 2075, from our bugs to our factories, all kinds of things could thrive in space. How is that? And how believable is it really? Here's a report.
Over the past 25 years, space exploration has changed dramatically. We've landed in the outer solar system, discovered water on the moon, eaten food grown in space, and photographed a black hole. Sure, we haven't been visited by little green beings in flying saucers, but the past few years have changed spaceflight tremendously. And the next few decades promise to be action-packed. Predicting the future may be a fool's errand, but some scientists have done it anyway, like those at the Royal Society. This is a scientific academy in the United Kingdom, and it has published a report. It looks at the consequences of space science today and the possibilities over the next 50 years. So by the year 2075, they expect a range of strange changes, like factories in space. According to the report, advances in rockets and space planes could make way for space factories. They could make products in microgravity. So get ready for Made in Space tags on your products. Plus, as the space race heats up, the volume of space debris is increasing. There are more than 130 million space junk pieces floating around, thanks to spent rockets or collisions of defunct satellites. Scientists believe that this problem will soon find a solution. Companies could start recycling the junk, maybe robots could do that, along with mining asteroids, which has long been an ambition of researchers. If possible, this would extract minerals from asteroids and minor planets. What's more, there are also predictions of colonization, less so by humans and more by insects, specifically extremophile bugs. They can endure harsh environments on Earth, so they could be engineered to survive on Mars and used as living tools to utilize natural resources. Though many humans desperately want to live on the red planet too. Scientists say that patches of Mars could be engineered to be more hospitable to humans. So much so that humans could end up being born there. That said, take all of this with a pinch of salt. After all, predictions about space often end up being just wild guesses. Remember the elevator to space, where you push a button and effortlessly shoot into outer space? Scientists often speculated that this could happen, but it still hasn't. Remember Milkomeda? It was predicted that our galaxy, the Milky Way, would collide with its largest neighbor, the Andromeda, in about 4.5 billion years. This has been anticipated since 1912 and was feared as the end of our galaxy. But now research suggests that the likelihood of this galactic clash is much smaller than expected earlier. That's the thing about scientific predictions. As science evolves, predictions change. But when it comes to space exploration, you can expect a few things. In the coming decades, the space sector is anticipated to grow beyond $1.8 trillion. The private space boom will continue. And so will the ambition of countries keeping up with the pace of change. They're chasing moon bases, space stations, and orbiting factories. We may not be able to have tea with aliens or witness babies being born on Mars, but radical developments can certainly be expected. So, watch the space.
Conspiracy theories and Donald Trump. It's a match made on the campaign trail. Recently, the US president pushed for one such conspiracy, that Joe Biden was killed in 2020, that he was replaced by a robot. Now, first of all, that makes no sense. A robot would never have made such glaring gaffes, nor would it have fallen off bicycles. So we can safely say Biden was alive, though not well. But the theory itself has got a life of its own. Internet users are swapping out Joe Biden with a robot. Take a look.
Thanks to all the members of Congress and Homeland Security Secretary. I'm not sure good English.
Preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. So help me.
And now it's time for Vantage Shots, images that tell the story. Bulgarian lawmakers clash in the parliament over approval to use the euro. An AI-powered badminton robot trains to play against humans. And an elephant goes on a snacking spree inside a Thailand store. Finally, we're taking you back in history. On this day in 1937, the world's first shopping carts were introduced in the US. The idea was to increase sales by making it easier for customers to carry more items. And the idea was an instant hit. Men thought it looked weak, and women thought it resembled a baby stroller. But changes in design made it an everyday necessity. We're leaving you on that note. Thank you for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.